Oh, it's getting a little bit bright all of a sudden. How are you?
I'm great. I have just been swimming and meditating in the park this morning. So feeling pretty nice and relaxed.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Oopsies. Sorry, I'm just... There we go. It's interesting how we connected. I think it was Zoe Bosco who put us onto each other. It was an amazing everything, amazing human at everything. She was telling me about you. She kind of didn't tell me much about you. Like she was like, she said, this woman is amazing. You need to connect with her. And I haven't done much research on you. You know, I've seen a little bit of your posts and whatnot, but I'm not quite sure, you know, what it is exactly that you're up to in the world. So maybe that's a good place to start.
Yeah, cool. It's funny. It was the same the way Zoe connected us. She was like, yeah, Zoe's great. And I didn't know that much as well until you were just telling me about your podcast, which is awesome to hear more about. But so a bit about me and what I'm up to in the world. I was a model for 7 years, and I'm just in the phase of like fully transitioning out of that and no longer working with agents. But that took me on a wild and beautiful journey around the world. You're all good on your side? Yeah. And must be about 5 years ago, I discovered kinesiology, not through Zoe initially, but that really started opening my mind up to the reasons I was doing things the way I was doing them. Like kind of it showed me that there was possibility to think about concepts like success and what I was working towards in a way other than what I had been working towards. And so from there,
let me pause you there. What were the differences in the way that you were, and compared to the possibilities of what they could be?
Well, around modeling, I guess, growing up as a teenager, a lot of my peer group and I had looked up to models as the successful figures in society and the role models for beauty. Like there were very kind of tight confines around how I viewed success and beauty. It was to make a lot of money. It was to look like fashion models look. And I hadn't even been aware of how strongly I was striving to meet those standards that I'd created, and that it wasn't really serving my happiness or fulfillment, or I didn't feel myself. I didn't feel like I was in my alignment at all. So kinesiology was really an opening point for me to start to see how there was possibility to change these constructs that I built.
Just quickly, how did you come across kinesiology? Was it you seeing a kinesiologist, or somebody said, hey, there's this thing, can I try it with you? Or was it you wanting to become a kinesiologist? Or like, yeah, how did that enter your life?
It came through, I'd seen a few psychologists, but I've always been super interested in the mind and work, like becoming aware of my own mind. And I had a friend who was seeing a kinesiologist and all of her family, and she just said it was something she thought I'd be into and I should give it a try. And it sounded really weird. I remember the first few times I got on the table, she was testing my arm, and I was like, I just didn't believe it. I was super skeptical, but the changes I experienced.
Quickly, for those who don't know what kinesiology is, just give a quick little rundown.
Yeah, so it's a muscle testing method where you're getting direct feedback from the body, and so you can explore whatever concepts coming up. whatever's alive, or you can go straight through the body if you've got a physical ailment of some sort or a sickness. But it allows you to approach healing in a way that's directly giving and receiving feedback from the body, and so it's not just all about the mind. And
so it's a healing modality. It's kind of an ultimate medicine, or is it alternative medicine kind of practice? I practice kinesiology. I've been practicing kinesiology for a long, long time as well, using the muscle testing in my healing work as well. And I ask you just to see how you describe it, because
I love hearing different people's descriptions of it as well. Yeah. I'd love to hear how you describe it.
And it's just like one of those things I kind of don't even really describe it to people. I'm like, just come and do it. It's like,
exactly. Exactly.
And so I can't really describe why it works. I just know that it does. It does work. It does, and it's almost like this idea. I've heard this idea that life is a placebo. So it's like whatever you believe will probably, you'll find that confirmation bias to be true. I found that some placebos, if you can't explain them, if they're unexplainable, are just useful and some aren't. So it's like in this instance, it's like, I don't know why it works, how it works. All I know is that it does, and it's beneficial like most of the time, if not all of the time. So it's come and try it. There's a book called, I think, Power versus Force, which is probably the best resource I've found on kind of explaining the ins and outs of it.
Oh, cool. Power versus Force. Did you say that's a book?
Correct.
I'll have to check that out.
Check it out, because I just point people to that, because I'm like, I can't recite it. I could probably remember it, but again, even if you can read a book, but by experiencing something, you're gonna know it a lot more, in depth. So I find when
I find when I go to describe it, I try to stick to the experience for me, like what it's unlocked for me, and it really resonates for some people, I guess, who are maybe on a similar path, but it also doesn't make any sense to others. And so I guess your approach leaves it wide open for them to just have a try. Yeah.
And so you found that, and that allowed you to kind of take a step back or have a look and go, hey, I wonder how the actions and the choices I've made are affecting me, or the effect they're having on me, or if they're beneficial or valuable for me, and kind of allowed you to kind of step away from just like this kind of, it's what it sounds like, is that you were just running on a kind of an autopilot, or doing what you were told, or doing what you felt you should do, and it gave you a moment to go, hang on a sec, how am I being affected by, or how am I coming to the choices that I'm making? Is that right? Am I on the right track there with what you're saying?
Yeah, totally. And what I'm hearing, when I'm hearing you, is what kinesiology really opened for me is having this way to directly communicate with my body, and why that was so important at that time in my life was I realized that I was getting a lot of signals from my body that I wasn't listening to, because I was so in this mental driven mode of being. And so when I started realizing, having a way to feel and understand more what was happening in my body, and understand the signals more through, at first, just kinesiology, then it really opened up this ability for me to see how often my body was giving me signals that I wasn't listening to, where I really wasn't feeling good in a lot of the things I was doing.
Well, give me an example. Like, was it headaches? Was it
a lot of anxiety, depression, loneliness, feeling really heavy, and I mean, I feel like that one of the best ways I can describe it is just not feeling in alignment, like just not really feeling like I could show up and be myself. There's all this pressure around everything. Yeah.
And then how specifically did you use the tool? Was it you muscle test yourself? Is it like you using your hands, or I use my hand to muscle test like so? And was it then directing questions? So this is a yes, this is a no. So it's like, you know, my name is Zulu. I get a strong lock, so I'm pushing against. This is a circuit. So for those watching at home, it's like, you know, this is the muscle test I use. A lot of people use creating a circuit. With
I use this one now. Yeah.
And so I'm asking my body to tell me a yes. The essential question is what I'm saying true? You know, and so a yes is a lock. You know, when it's a yes, the circuit stays. So we create a circuit. My circuit here is like this. So the circuit here, I'm pushing against my thumb with my middle finger often, or it could be anything really. But when I say the statement yes, I'm going to give me a confirmation that that's yes and that's true. And when I say no, I'll get a break. If I'm pushing against it, I'll get a break. Or if it's here, it's yes, 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 no. So my name is Zulu. I'm pushing. Is my name Zulu? Yes, it's true. Is my name's Amelia. I'll immediately get a break. And it's my brain, my body knows that it's true or not true. So I can't fool myself. And this is oftentimes, you know, I've been practicing and, you know, practicing this tool for so long that my trust in it grows and grows and grows. Because at the beginning, if some people are trying this muscle testing, and you can learn muscle testing in minutes. You know, it's like if you just test this, you know, with yes, but you want to practice and get that ingrained and locked. I don't know if you're doing self-testing.
Yeah, I am now. So I spent a few years with the first kinesiologist, but I needed to learn the tool myself. And that wasn't something he offered in a service. They teach me how I could use it myself. So then I found another, and I've been practicing. I watched Dane's videos, the Clear Your Shit videos, and that's what really landed it for me. And it took me like about a year of practicing it to like really trust myself and start clearing kind of more in-depth things. But yeah, it's awesome. Such a good tool to have.
Yeah, and that year of practicing, like, again, I even to this day don't know if, like, again, I believe I don't know how it works, or if it works. I'm just, you know, by using it so many times, I believe trusting in it that it does and is beneficial is a far more useful mindset to come from for me or for those around me, because it's like, you know, even I think it's been, must have been 21, 22 when I first started using the tool. So 12, 13 years ago. Like, yeah, again, I don't know if I fully 100% trust it, but I know that it's better to have that mindset of, oh, well, it works, so I may as well just go with it, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely helpful enough for me too.
Yeah, it's kind of a contradictory statement, because like, all I'm trying to say is that thing never goes away. That, you know, it took you a year, but it's probably, for me, that's never really gone away, even though I don't fully 100% know why. It is so useful that it's that I just got to keep using it, and I see the results, and that proves to me that it is helpful, you know, and it's something must be right with it, you know.
Yeah, for me too. I still, if I really go into questioning it, it's just not a helpful spiral.
So the question was how specifically, so you felt the symptoms, I guess, the depressions, the anxieties that I felt out of alignment, that kind of stuff. So was it you going into the kinesiologist asking, where is this coming from? Or like, what was the process of allowing yourself to have a look at those things?
So what kinesiology, these sessions actually opened up for me as well, is just showing up as I was and working with whatever was there, which I'd never done before. I'd always come to a session or anything in my life with like an idea of exactly what we were going to do that had been planned out. And so it was the first time where it was actually a space for me to show up and work with whatever was alive.
So talk to me a bit about that. Was that kind of groundbreaking for you? Was that like the idea of, oh, hang on a sec, what am I feeling? What is here? Was it like, I don't, you know, I've got no plan. I've got no, all right, we're going to work on, I have this relationship and I want to work on that. Or, you know, I'm working on the, you know, my mum, I'm fighting with my mom. Let's work on that. Was that previous? And then now it was like, well, what wants to come through? What are you feeling right now? Is that new for you?
Yeah, totally. And what had to happen with that is I would even plan an idea in my mind for what I wanted to work on, but then something else would really strongly show up in my body that I couldn't ignore when I arrived. Like I'd get sick, or like something would go wrong with my wrist, or like, and Christina was her name. She'd be like, what's going on? Are you in pain or something? And then through following what was showing up in the body, we'd always end up working with the concept, the bigger concept that was alive, that I was, you know, somehow planning to work on, but it didn't flow in the way that I'd mentally planned out.
And so you would say something like that would come up, what would you do? Would you do some clearing? Would you, like, once you went into the whatever was coming up, what might you find, for instance? So say it was the wrist. If you saw, what would the digging be? What would the questioning be? And then what would happen from there?
Yeah, so it would be like, okay, there's pain in the wrist. We'll work with that. Then she would go through the emotions chart. We'd clear different emotions that were coming up. With that, memories can come up.
So the emotions, for people who don't know?
The emotions chart. It's a chart of all the different kinds of emotions we can feel. And so again, you test with the body and see what it's breaking on. And then you'll get to an emotion. And this was like, again, a process I really had to experience a lot of times before I started to just trust it and go with it. At first I was like, oh, really? Is it really that? Is she going to get it wrong? Like really judging the process, but it worked.
So it's like, so for the way we use it, I don't know if it was the same with Christina, that I'll going through the different elements. So it'll be water, wood, fire, earth, metal, kind of using a traditional Chinese medicine model. You know, it might be essential or governing, where the different meridians and organs reside within those elements. Like that's the model that it is set up on. And then once we find the emotion resides in a particular element, in a particular organ, or along a particular meridian. And then once you pinpoint where it's coming from, the specific emotion, then we can tap into and actually massage, you know, the different meridian points, or press them or hold them, or even just using breath and just attention to bring the awareness to that area, to then release whatever's there, or just to even pinpoint it and acknowledge it and be with it and allow it to be expressed or felt. I think is like essentially the you know, the principle and also the practice of it.
It's a very... Yeah, totally. So with her, she wouldn't actually use the meridian massaging at all. It would just be the focus and the breath to release. She would actually tap down my spine for everyone.
Awesome.
Yeah. But it's an incredible, I mean, that's why I keep coming back to it as well, because it's a very systematic way to clear emotions that are coming up.
And how would you feel after a session, and what would be the, you know, I guess the ongoing direct results or direct effect afterwards?
Clarity, lightness, like a feeling of clarity and lightness. And I'd also never experienced that was something that I could get to, like consciously work to get to. I kind of felt like if I was just really heavy or really anxious, I just had to just deal with that, and be with that and live with that. And so consistently I'd show up, often like something would come up before the session, and I would go in feeling heavy, feeling emotional, feeling just out of sorts, and then I would come out feeling clear, like I understood why the stuff had come up, why the uncomfortable stuff had come up. And so yeah, it was very empowering in that way. And we'd always work with a statement that that we were working towards. So whether that's like, I trust my body, something as simple as that, we'd always work with something like that that would really tie together what we were clearing.
How do you
And
maybe
it felt,
work with it? Would that be like, I trust my body, testing if that's true, or be like that's the affirmation that you'd like an intention that you'd like to then embed or embody and you know,
both.
hold?
So we'd test if it wasn't true, and we'd work with it like an affirmation, to feel strong in by the end of the session.
Nice.
So I didn't know it was an option to trust my body before I started doing kinesiology.
Yeah, wonderful. And what would be afterwards? So after, say, a session, how often were these? Once a week, or multiple times a week, or once a month? Like, how often were we having?
All of the above. Went through different phases. Yeah, sometimes once a week.
And the reason I ask is what was in between. So was there any work to do in between? Was there journaling? Was there any kind of actions you had to take in between sessions?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially at the beginning, because it was such a new experience. And so I would watch, how does the world look differently if I trust my body? You know, the world starts to look very different. The way I live and make decisions starts to look very different.
Can you give us an example?
Well, I remember one relationship I was in, and I was constantly feeling in my body like I wanted to run away, and just that it wasn't right, that it didn't feel right. And my mind was telling me to ignore all of those messages. And what I experienced was when I actually trusted my body and just started to make steps that felt aligned with my body, like that has been a big key for me, because that feels like my intuitive sense. That's the way I really receive my internal guidance. It's through what my body is telling me, and it's a very physical sensation. And so that statement was a big one for me, because when I started to make decisions trusting what my body was feeling, then I started moving into what felt like much more alignment, which I didn't even know was possible before.
Which leads up. So what were you going to say? But what?
I can't remember. It's gone now.
Which leads us to, I guess, where you've ended up, or where you're at. You know, because we started talking about what you're doing with your life. So, you know, is that kind of a large catalyst for where you've ended up? And you know, you've been guided by your body and the intuition, feeling into what is true, where you're being led, what's feeling right. And where has that led you?
On such a wild journey. So I mean, it's been a very long process of trusting that more and more, and of experimenting with how that plays out in the world, because I'm really grateful for all the experience I had. And it did feel incredibly out of alignment, but I needed to experience that to get where I am. And so over time, it meant having uncomfortable conversations with agents where the norms in the industry is that you can't really speak up. You can't really have your own time schedule. Not that you can't really speak up, but it doesn't really serve making the most money and functioning in the way the business functions.
So this essentially doing what has always been done, and doing just following either the spoken or the unspoken ways things are done.
Yeah, sorry. I think someone started vacuuming outside my room. So I'm just going to go and see what's going on, because it's getting louder. To be successful as a model, you have to be on call all the time. You have to be ready when the agent calls you to take whatever job comes up. It's like you always have to be ready to go. And so there's often a lot of people can't let you know things changing last minute. You can't really have your own life around that. And my experience was that there was a lot of frustration with all models always, about the relationships with the agents, about the communication, about them feeling like I guess they weren't really in control, and they weren't getting clear communication, often emails not answered, calls not answered, kind of thing. You just have to be ready when they want you. So I can't remember where I was going with that.
So was that like, so you doing these clearings and trusting more in your body,
Yeah, that's right.
was allowing you to then go actually first acknowledge that you're feeling a certain way, and then which then I'm guessing it led to you being able to articulate and communicate to whoever you're dealing with, especially your, the people who are putting food on your table essentially with work, and who are in the industry, which I'm guessing you really love and you're into, and allowing you to express yourself to them. So what was, because was it like, oh, now that you're aware of what's happening in your body, you know what it is and you're able to articulate, but then I'm thinking, what gave you, I guess, the courage or like the impetus to then just, communicate it? Because I imagine a lot of people might feel it, but then feel like they can't speak up, or, you yourself didn't do it in the past, but then something changed for you to be able to. What allowed you to do that?
Yeah, it was a process. It was both finding some people where I felt like the conversation was more open. I felt they were maybe more sensitive, more receptive, more open to having a new kind of dialogue. And it was also, for me, a big thing is it was seeing like everyone in this industry is struggling with these same problems. I can't then, once I see that, I can't then keep functioning in the same way. And so it's a funny part of me that seeks to be free and improve systems, and when that energy overtakes me, I'm not so worried about what the outcome is, because it feels so true for me to do that. And so I began having these different conversations, and where things really started to change with that was when it was around weight, because it was a subject, the body norms was a subject that none of the agents wanted to talk about. And for me, what I found was that there was no way to talk about these things or to really make a change unless I embodied the change that I wanted to see. It was like, I can't talk about how the industry is so messed up and how there are all these problems if I'm not willing to face my own problems, the eating disorder mentality and all the restriction and stuff that I was still acting in myself. And so as I really began to heal my relationship with my body and allow myself to come back to my healthy weight, then my measurements changed, and I had to have these conversations, or it felt important for me to have these conversations with the agents and say, my measurements are changing. Can I still get work? It takes an enormous amount of energy to show up and go to all the castings and things. So I wanted to be clear that we were both on the same page with it still being worth it if I wasn't at the normal industry size. And the response I got was kind of just total shutdown everywhere with that. And then when I left the market, it's happened with a few agents actually, they told me that I wouldn't be able to work in the market if I was the size I was, that I'd need to lose weight. But they weren't open to talking about it face to face. They would contact my mother agent to contact me to tell me that it wasn't possible afterwards.
And
so
that was, what did that lead to for you? Was it like, this isn't, like, if they can't even talk about it, there's something wrong and that needs addressing? And you did you get really passionate about that, or?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's kind of gone both ways. Like, I got really passionate about it while I was in the process of healing myself and realizing how much felt like it was wrong. I was really passionate then about talking about my journey. And now that I feel...
Who did you talk to about it?
Instagram, the world.
Were you like articles, interviews, TV, radio, blogs, something, writing, like?
Yeah, interviews with magazines, through like personal shares on my Instagram about what was going on for me in the physical world and internally. And
this was just you sharing, like, did you already have a following, or was it like you built a following through talking about this kind of stuff? Or
yeah, well, I mean, that's what's been a big challenge for me. I built the following through playing the normal modeling game, through being a cute, happy girl on Instagram. And all of a sudden it didn't feel right to just play. Well, that wasn't my truth anymore either. It didn't make any sense for me to keep posting like that because it wasn't what the truth was.
Is that right? Did it feel inauthentic to do that?
Yeah.
It feel true. So what was there backlash, or was there like, in terms of backlash, like, was it in terms of the repercussions? Was it you lost followers, you gained more, you gained a different kind of audience? Like, was it like, what was the demographic? Did that change?
Yeah, so what I've experienced consistently since I've stepped into more authenticity is decrease in followers and increase in engagement.
Right. So
yeah.
And was the demographic, did that change at all?
The demographic, it hasn't changed massively, no. It's still about 60% women, 40% men.
So it's always
and age.
And
yeah, and age.
Did you say Asian people?
I said ages. Ages between 18 to I think 45. Yeah.
How did Asian people get involved? Were you in Asia?
I was actually sometimes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was where the modeling industry extremes are like the most intense. They weigh you in every week, measure you down to each finger. It's crazy.
Talk to us about that. Talk to us about some of that stuff, because I'm curious what it is in different, what it's like in different places. Is it different in Europe? Have you been modeling in Australia, America? Like, where are you based? England? Like.
So right now I'm based in London, but I'm doing all my own stuff now. Started in Japan. That was the first. Pardon?
You said you're doing all your own stuff. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not modeling with agents anymore.
Okay. So yeah, tell us the difference between the different, I guess countries and
Yeah, so I started working in Japan, and their work ethic is so intense there, and the way that manifests in the modeling industry is they measure you down to each finger. They weigh you in every week. You sit in a van with like 10 or 15 or as many as they can physically cram into the van, and you're driven around to castings all day from 9 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night, and you get out and you line up with hundreds of other models from around the world, and you have a Japanese manager who sells you to the clients. You stand there and he says, "This is Amelia, she's from Australia, she's 18 years old." They won't accept, or they pretend everyone's under 24 or maybe even 22, I think it was, because you're not bookable if you're over that age. And then they might get you to try on some clothes, to do a dance, whatever they want. And then you get back in the van, and then you get, so you go on contracts for 2 months. You do as many jobs as you can. The online stores, there's a funny comparison. In Japan, I would shoot 80 different looks in 2 hours, whereas in England or Australia, you'd do maybe 35 looks in a day.
Wow. Is that, what's that like for you? Is it like tiresome? Is it fun? Is it, you meet many people, you make connections? Like,
yeah, I loved it. Like getting to live in all different cultures at that age. Like I left school and I started doing that. So It was like 2 months in a different city around the world at a time, and making new friends, having new experiences, getting to travel to cool locations. And yeah, it was pretty amazing for a while.
And this whole
But
time,
yeah.
you posting on Instagram? Are you doing your kinesiology sessions, or did that arrive later, or like how long's that been happening?
So that arrived. I started full-time modeling and traveling at 18, and then the kinesiology probably came in around 20.
And I don't know how long has Instagram been around. How long have you been using it?
I think
Like,
some of my first photos are like some of my first shoots. So that was 2013, so 5 years ago, I guess.
yeah, and what have you seen as the impact of that? Like, is it, you know, having social media? I guess, yeah. Is it people? How has that affected people? Like, you know, in terms of your audience, and also like your ability. I guess, does it get you work, or you know, like what's been the most, I guess, A, beneficial use of social media, and like, you know, B, like the negative stuff that's happened or as a result of social media as well, from your experience?
I've had a great relationship with Instagram, actually, because it's allowed me to directly communicate with the audience that I've built. And so it's allowing me now to build my new business as well, and support myself by booking jobs directly that do feel aligned with my values. And yeah, it's been awesome to be able to even have my own creative expression as a model. Like before that, you know, the agents managed absolutely everything, what photos of you go anywhere and what people see and what they don't see. So it's been incredibly liberating and empowering in that way. The negative I've experienced is the constant for me, as my identity feels like it's changed, like learning how to stay authentic and plug that into Instagram has been a strange process, and kind of fun in a way too. But also, as there's more and more time that I just don't want to be on there, it's like a process of coming back and refinding myself and refinding my expression constantly. And for other people, I find that, well, I mean, a lot of people talk to me about, through my social media, and just in general, about the pressures that come from the norms on social media that we see of how people present themselves. Yeah, of always presenting like the easy, fun, confident, positive sides of life, and the vulnerable and uncertain and harder parts get missed on that platform, and so creates this kind of warped image of the human experience, I find, which can create a lot more suffering.
Yeah, well,
when we are in.
There's some stats on there that, you know, that mention that I think Instagram is one of it's higher on the scale, I think highest on the scale of social media platforms that are creating unhappiness, and you know, a skewed perspective essentially is where that comes from. You know, it does have the tendency to, you know, to attract that kind of, you know, because it's so visual based, to present the attractive, the positive, the fun, the easygoing, and that creates the lopsided view, which unhappiness arises within us to actually point us to the fact that we are lopsided in our perspective, to bring us back into balance. You know, and that's why it's so high on that social media platforms that are creating unhappiness. And for you, are you a big consumer? Are you like scrolling, browsing, connecting with other people through the actual Instagram platform itself, or is your use more content production, and you know, focusing more on delivering value through your platform?
It's a mix. I'll go through phases. And what I find hard is, well, I really enjoy actually interacting with the audience and using it in that way. But I find when I'm on it more frequently and more like plugged into it, then I'll find myself checking out, and 2 hours later realizing that I've just been scrolling or lost on some random train of finding people or something like that, and so then I usually take a step back, and then come back to it from more the content creation. As a brand, as a business, it's kind of a constant dance for me.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. I'm big on the social medias. Again, if you're using it in a way like that is helping you, I think everything's valid and okay so long as it's making you happy. It's if it's bringing you joy and bringing you benefit in life, keep doing it. That's when you can take a moment to hang and say, how am I engaging with this? Or, how is this affecting me, those around me? And if the answer is negatively, then all right, cool. I could make a different decision.
Totally. Yeah, and it's cool to see like the rise of so many more positive brands and influencers and things on the platform. Like clearly people are responding to that and using it in a more conscious way. And like you said, it's the same as how we use anything. So
is it for you? Are you sharing stuff like like I know there's those types like this is like Instagram photo and this is like what the reality is like? Are you sharing these types of posts, and or are you sharing posts where you're like, I'm feeling emotional now and upset, and this is what I'm going through, like more of your own personal life stuff, or what kind of? I haven't really scrolled through much of your page, so I actually don't know what kind of posts and what kind of content you love to share.
It's a mix. I produce a lot of shoots now for brands, for creative fun. I actually love modeling, so there's some of that, some like the content production. And I love sharing what I've created, I've created with a team and the concept with that. Then there's also there's been phases of me being like, why can't I be seen in my vulnerability? Why can't I be seen in my sadness and my confusedness? And so I'll post about that. And then there's been, I've kind of just flowed with it. There's a lot more like funny memes in my mind that are coming up, and there's a lot more desire to just use it in a more like super playful, jokey way as well. But it does actually feel like just a very human mix of my expression, really. There's no set way.
And for you, what's exciting for you? What are you working on? Is it your brand, your creative stuff, or what do you got coming up in the next little while, or that you're working on in the future that is really alive for you at the moment?
The podcast, definitely.
Tell us about that. Let's plug the podcast.
Yeah, so I don't know when it will be coming out. It's in the early creation stages, but I am really excited right now about just jumping on a call and chatting to people who I find exciting and inspiring, and finding out what drives them. Something has just happened with the sound. I think we're good now.
Have you got a list of people that you've already chosen, or? I
do. Do you want to hear them?
Who are the people? Because you said the people that you're excited by. Like what kind of people? What are they into? Who are they?
Yeah, so Zoe was the first one, our kinesiologist friend and magical friend. And then
Zoe reminds you, she's so amazing. She reminds you of, she doesn't even seem real. It's like she's from a different realm. It's like you even like you touch
yeah, so we had a great conversation about beauty norms a lot. She's creating a project at the moment called the Beauty Matrix, unpacking the synthetic beauty matrix, which is very fascinating to me and feels very aligned with the journey I've been on. There is a wonderful woman, Trudy Tupscott, who has been like a head director of all the big modeling agencies in New York, and who has stepped away from them and tried to create change in a lot of them and been pushed away. And so I'm really excited to talk to her about what she's experienced through that. Also, Ida Cohen is a psychologist who I found recently on a podcast, talking about, he works in the integration process around psychedelic experiences. I'm very interested to chat to him about about his work and his experience and the differences he
the agents some psychedelics and see what happens.
Yeah. I'm super, huh?
Or maybe the models, then that could be fun too.
Giving the models psychedelics, is that what you just said?
Exactly. or working with the people who are going through the pressures, or the maybe the eating disorders, or the the emotional stuff, mental stuff that is happening through as a result, or as a feedback from being in the industry and having those pressures on it.
Yeah, I mean, my ayahuasca experience 4 years ago was a massive turning point for me. Really blasted things open in a new way.
Tell us about that.
As I said, like, I'd been doing the kinesiology and finding different healing modalities around that time, but it was in a really peak time for me around the old perceptions breaking down. Felt like everything I knew was breaking down, and there was this desire to try ayahuasca. So I found someone through some recommendations and went on a journey with ayahuasca. And
where was that? Was that like, were you in the rainforest, or?
It was in the UK, actually, a few hours out of London. Yeah.
Right. And for those who don't know, just give a quick rundown of what ayahuasca is.
So ayahuasca is a plant medicine, and it's considered a plant medicine that she's considered, she's known as the grandmother spirit. And what do I want to say? I kind of feel like it's one of those things you have to go and experience as well. But
so did you drink it? You drank the brew. Was it one-on-one? Was it in a circle setting, or?
It was in a circle setting with about 40 other people.
Yeah.
So what I came away from, I had an incredible experience through that, but I also desired more support in the integration.
As in post, throughout, or during?
Pre and post. Oh. And where this started was this guy that I'd love to interview for my podcast, who I will next week. He specializes in that. His background is psychology, and he specializes in the integration pre and post of ayahuasca experiences. But I'd never really heard or had any resources, like objective resources to help integrate that kind of experience before. So super fascinated to with his work, and to talk to him about the differences he has experienced between Western psychology and shamanic healing processes. Yeah,
I use a lot of the I guess those concepts and principles of shamanism in my work, and in all of the sessions I have, whether it's a live workshop, whether it's a one-on-one, whether it's even from a corporate setting, or in more of a mainstream setting, even if I'm on stage with playing a show, or I'll often use a lot of these principles and practices with really setting up the container, really tapping into and channeling our spirit, and all of this stuff. So I find it fun, like, yeah, blending those into where it would be unexpected. That's super fun. It's and I feel it's coming back in a big way, like, and it's, people seeing the benefit of it, and it's one of those things that, like, no matter as woo woo or weird as it might be, it brings results and it's effective. So it's like, even if you don't really agree with it, it makes you feel weird or awkward, or it's not like the done thing. I feel it's super valid, and people are becoming more and more open to it. And I'll always ask as well sometimes, like, are you okay with, playing with a bit of magic or playing with a bit of woo-woo? And oftentimes people, surprises me how many people say, fuck yeah, let's bring it on,
Yeah, totally. So I've been creating.
Go on.
Oh yeah.
You've been creating.
I've been creating photo shoot experiences as well, where we set a container and we use a photo shoot experience as like a ritual to explore the beliefs that we have around being seen and around beauty, and to move through whatever comes up with that. And that's been a really powerful way to blend magic and modeling.
Is that something that you've already kicked off, or is it still in the creation mode?
It's in the creation mode, but it's been actually asked of me by women I meet all over the world through my journey. So it's happening. It's happened, and it will continue to happen in a more professional setting, I guess.
And I guess I know that we've got to wrap up soon, but for you, what are some of the really, I guess, maybe core messages that are coming through for you that are really important, whether it's been with your journey, like if you're talking to somebody who's going through maybe some of the stuff that you've been through, or is, can really relate to kind of your journey, whether it's models or whether it's anyone who might be listening to this, some of the kind of core lessons or core messages that have been really helpful or beneficial for you in your journey. Is there anything, I guess, because I'm like last minute, what kind of valuable pieces do you have for anybody who might be listening today?
The mantra that keeps playing over and over again in my mind at the moment is from the fullness is born. And so what I find incredibly helpful always is to come back into presence and come back into the fullness that is available to us right now, always, and from there begin to create, or from there begin to move into whatever else we're doing. And it feels so simple and so key for me. And it's changed the way I approach the healing journey as well, because when I was seeking all these experiences and all this healing from a place of feeling like I wasn't enough, it felt like I was perpetuating that on some level. And so starting with the fullness as it is now feels really key to perpetuating more of that vibration in whatever we're doing. And I mean, the other key for me and what I feel called to offer as well is increasing embodied presence capacity. And so it's really, what has been the key for me is trusting my body's guidance and the messages that I'm getting in my body, and increasing my ability to be in my body in all the different things that I'm doing. And that involves feeling the emotions that come up, feeling whatever comes up. And I feel continuously called to share the power of feeling and sensitivity, and the strength of that, and how it allows us to live more alive and more receptive and feeling more connected to life. And I hear a lot of people who are maybe ticking off goals and achieving things but don't really feel fulfilled, and I feel like that is a key to fulfillment. So that's what I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, awesome. And I feel that kinesiology and any embodiment practice, even the psychedelics, if you will, like, you know, anything that is allowing you to get into the body more and kind of out of the mind, or to combine both, where you're not bringing the mind into the body, or the mind body experiencing it as it is and being okay with it, is you know, it feels super beneficial. And I've found for me that the more open I am to delving into and using these practices, using these tools to actually be okay with whatever it is I'm experiencing, the more and more I guess I feel myself opening up and just growing and being more myself and allowing more life to flow through me, which, you know, that I'm really passionate about myself, and, you know, that's super inspirational for me. So I totally agree with that. So what's the podcast called before we go? How can we find it?
It's called Redefine, and it's not online currently, but it will be in the upcoming weeks.
In the link in my bio.
Yes.
Probably, right? Awesome.
Yeah, and my website or my Instagram, should I say it now or you say it later?
Give it to us.
Okay. My Instagram is Amelia Zadrow at not anything. That's it. And my website is the same, ameliazadrow.com.
Awesome. So, and who would you like to connect with? Like, who are the kind of people who are looking for? Agents, models, people to interview for you? Like, who do you love to connect with?
I love to connect with everyone who resonates. Yeah, I feel open and excited by every new connection that comes in, whatever it has to teach.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you taking the time, and it's great to finally meet you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me on the show. It's been lovely to hear about your journey and your philosophy as well. I felt really inspired by your story about the creation of this podcast and mastery, which is...
We can talk about that on the next time we have you on, or vice versa, because that's something that is exciting for me as well. It's like you hear it in my voice. As soon as you start talking about it, I get excited. So thank you again so much. You're awesome. I love what you're up to in the world, and thank you so much for bringing your energy, your magic, your unique gifts to the world, and having that courage to actually do something about it. Because, you know, a lot of people feel that they have something, but then they don't then follow through with whatever is coming through. So the fact that you are doing that, I fully respect that and appreciate that. So thank you very much. Keep up the good work, and thanks for everybody who's tuned in today. And until next time, guys, keep the flow growing and the growth flowing.